Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to crochet an easy snowflake. If you're brand new to crochet, I wouldn't recommend starting with a snowflake, but the pattern and stitches are easy to follow. Snowflakes are great decor that you can display throughout the winter, and you can use them for so many different things. As a tree ornament, part of a gift tag, embellishment to other objects, or an applique to a sweater, blanket, pillow, or tote. I like to attach them to windows or mirrors using suction cup hooks that you can find in a variety of craft and hardware stores. You can also find them at the Dollar Tree. You have a lot of flexibility with the snowflake pattern. You can use any crochet hook and yarn weight from crochet thread to super bulky, depending on the size you want. And they look beautiful in a variety of colors. Speaking of variety, you'll find a number of written patterns available in my Ravelry and Etsy shops. Links are included in the description box. The biggest selection is in my Ravelry shop, but I'm gradually adding more to Etsy. You can also find some fun Christmas projects in my Christmas crochet playlist, which is also linked in the description box. For this project, you'll need a hook and yarn, of course, as well as 2 stitch markers. When you block the snowflake, you'll need some stick pins, a blocking board, and some starch or fabric stiffener. So grab your supplies and let's have some fun crocheting. I'll be using a 3.25mm hook and a medium 4-weight yarn for this project. We start by making a ring, but we don't use a magic ring. Instead, chain 6. Slip stitch to the first chain to form a ring. Chain 1. This counts as our first single crochet. Single crochet into the ring. Chain 3. Put 2 single crochets into the ring. Repeat that 4 more times. Chain 3, 2 single crochet. Chain 3. Slip stitch to the beginning chain 1 to finish the round. Here's the first single crochet, and here's the first chain 1 that we started with. Start round 2 with a slip stitch in the next single crochet. Slip stitch into the chain 3 space. Chain 3. The chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. Double crochet into the same chain space. Chain 2. Put 2 double crochets into the same chain space. Skip the 2 single crochets and continue to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in each of the chain spaces. Slip stitch in the top chain of the beginning chain 3 to finish the round. Chain 1 to start round 3. This counts as the first single crochet. Single crochet in the next double crochet. We're ready to start the repeat. Put 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. Chain 7. Place a stitch marker in the first chain. We'll come back to it a bit later. Slip stitch in the 6th chain from the hook. This forms the first picot. Chain 5. Place a stitch marker in the first chain. Slip stitch in the 4th chain from the hook. Chain 6. Slip stitch in the first chain. Chain 4. Slip stitch in the first chain. Slip stitch in the chain where you put the second stitch marker. Chain 6. Slip stitch in the first chain. Slip stitch in the chain where you put the first stitch marker. Single crochet 2 times in the same chain 2 space where you started. Single crochet in the next 2 doubles. Chain 4. Slip stitch in the first chain. Single crochet in the next 2 doubles. This is the end of the repeat. We repeat that all the way around the snowflake. I'll go through it with you one more time. Put 2 single crochets into the next chain 2 space. Chain 7. Place a stitch marker in the first chain. Slip stitch in the 6th chain from the hook. Chain 5. Place a stitch marker in the first chain. Slip stitch in the 4th chain from the hook. Chain 6. Slip stitch in the first chain. Chain 4. Slip stitch in the first chain. Slip stitch in the chain where you put the second stitch marker. Chain 6. Slip stitch in the first chain. Slip stitch in the chain where you put the first stitch marker. Single crochet 2 times in the same chain 2 space where you started. Single crochet in the next 2 doubles. Chain 4. Slip stitch in the first chain. Single crochet in the next 2 doubles. Continue with the repeat all the way around the snowflake. I'll meet you at the end of the round. After completing the last 2 single crochet in the chain 2 space, single crochet in the next 2 doubles. I forgot to add the last single picot, but you have a couple of options here. You can chain 4 and slip stitch in the first chain to complete the last picot, then slip stitch in the beginning chain 1 to finish the round. If you want to use the snowflake as a tree ornament, you could make a longer chain. Since I didn't realize my mistake until after the video was complete, I just added the hanger with a separate piece of yarn at the end. I'll insert that video here. After inserting the hook into the stitch, I chained 26. You can make your chain longer or shorter depending on how you plan to use it. Slip stitch back into the same stitch where you started to form the hanger. Chain 1, fasten off, and sew in the tails. To make the snowflake flat and shape it, we need to block it. I'm using a foam blocking board, but you can also use cardboard or styrofoam. Just lay some plastic wrap or wax paper down first. I start by positioning the 6 points and make adjustments as needed. Then I position the smaller picots. Try to keep them the same size and shape for consistency. You can shape the picots with 1 pin in the middle to give them a linear appearance, or you can use 2 pins to spread the picot into an oval shape. I decided to spread the picos a bit to give them more definition. As you can see, I used a lot of stick pins to get the shape I wanted. You can dampen the snowflake with some water to further shape and flatten it. To retain the shape, use starch, or you can make your own fabric stiffener. Just do a Google search on fabric stiffener DIY and you'll have a number of options. I'm using starch for this project, but I also like to use a mixture of water and white glue. Allow the snowflake to dry completely before removing the pins. Depending on how much water and stiffener you used, this could take several hours. I let mine dry overnight. You can add embellishments like glitter, colored thread, beads, or sequins if you want. I'll show you some examples of that in upcoming videos. If you enjoyed this tutorial, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.